Let me first thank the OECD and the African Union and the Spanish government for bringing this conference to Madrid. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really grateful for the invitation. I just have a regret is that we have an all-men panel. It's nothing to see, it's nothing personal. It's nothing to see with my brilliant panelists, but I think if we are talking about the future, building a common future for Africa, it's impossible, as it was also raised in the previous panel, not to have this future built from women, by women, and for women, with having their voice clearly at the center. And there are great initiatives that were taken, and it was explained with the case of Ethiopia, but it's clear that we need to have more spaces to make sure that these voices are there. Beyond that, I think it's impossible to be talking about how we can be raising this common future without talking about the opportunities, and that was clear, and I will come back again in the panel, but also we need to raise the concerns, the challenges for the continent. And one of these challenges is, obviously, as I was saying, the voice and the role and the space for women. The gender inequalities are only a problem and a consequence of the broader inequality in the continent. So let me alert us. We cannot be talking about this future, this present of the Chinese continent. Oh, sorry, I'm concerned with the translation into Chinese. With the African continent, without understanding the levels, the crisis of the inequality in the continent. We've been talking about this future and the reality of the growth in the continent, which is very impressive, but what we cannot keep accepting is a growth that is not shared by the many, and it's a growth that is only going to the very few. We see that the 0.001% of wealth in the continent is in the hands only of 40% of 40% of the wealth in the continent is in the hand of 0.001% of those elites. Most of them are men. But we were also talking about the risk of having two Africas. Africa continent that is not just one reality, but many realities. And when we are talking about these different Africas, and especially because we have Mali also today in the panel with us, we need to recognize that there is a risk that we are leaving part of this continent behind. Some countries are not having the same opportunities, are not the growth in those countries is not the same as in the rest of the continent, and we can somehow be forgetting the reality that we might be leaving some of those countries behind. The Sahel region is probably one of the clear examples, and we see when in this region 50% of population is still living in poverty. And we see also in this region very different levels of investment in health and education, which is crucial for securing this future without inequalities. One of the other issues that was raised this morning to build this common future with a reduced level of inequality is the problem of financing. It's been said that the continent is not generating enough revenues from taxes, from the activities that are happening inside the continent, and even the level of foreign direct investment that is attracted to the continent, this value that is coming to the continent is not creating value inside the continent that is turning into sustainable and own revenues. We see that sub-Saharan Africa is at the lowest tax to GDP levels in a decade, while at the same time debt levels have been growing over the decade at more than 100% in total. So we need to build this future in common, and for that we need to restore trust. And trust, let me say also that clearly, trust cannot be restored without the voice of civil society, without the participation of social movements, without considering and taking into account the voice of young people. So if there is also something that we would like to say to most of you today here in the room, that don't forget the voice of the civil society to be part, an active and engaged part in building this future in common. So there are worrying trends, but also positive examples. And we want to show also that there are cases, countries, companies, and organizations that are committed to build and to develop positive cases, to look at what can be happening and the opportunities in the continent from a different angle, and we'll have this opportunity today. So let me first introduce you this brilliant and very complementary panel. We are lucky to have first Mr. Adama Tiemoko Diarra, who's the Minister of Land Use, Planning and Population in Mali. And I really want to thank him because he has accepted very last minute because of unexpected changes to be on this panel today. So special thank you to him. To his left, we have Mr. Kai Sheng, who's the chairman of the Finance Center for South-South Cooperation, who will bring us some examples of how some of those investments can be bridging different continents and building on positive experience in Africa. We have also, to his left, let me find, Mr. Zefani Nyonkuru, sorry, the Deputy Chief and Executive Officer for the Rwanda Development Board, will show us also how the Rwanda government has made some political and economic choices to promote the sustainable development in the country. Next, we have Mr. Íñigo Palacios. Sorry, let me find. Íñigo de Palacio, who's the Global Director for Institutional Relations and Vice President of INRA, one of the top leading Spanish companies, who's very active in the continent, and it's operating from different countries, but also generating investment in different countries. And finally, we have Mr. I'm really bad with names. I don't want to kill you. Mr. Tomoharu Otake, sorry, who's the chief representative from the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. And I think it's really important that we have your voice at the end to close also from the perspective of how cooperation, how development can also support movements that are happening from governments, from the civil society, and from the business. So let me start with Mr. Diarra. Donc en fait, le Mali est un des pays qui a fait le choix de construire un modèle de développement durable, qui a fait des choix politiques aussi et qui cherche à trouver ce rôle, cette voie pour les femmes, pour les jeunes aussi, dans des conditions qui sont des fois plus difficiles que d'autres exemples qu'on a écoutés ce matin. Donc, dans une région qui a tout du moins des défis, nous serions en gré de vous écouter, de voir comment le pays a fait ses choix et comment vous voyez ce progrès, cet avenir aussi à construire pour avancer vers un développement durable d'une façon plus claire. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la modératrice. Je voudrais, à l'entame de mes propos, exprimer toute ma gratitude à l'organisation, notamment à l'OCDE et au gouvernement espagnol pour l'accueil chaleureux dont nous avons fait l'objet. Alors, ceci dit, je dois dire que je suis là au nom de Monsieur le Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement, qui devait être là, mais qui a été empêché et qui m'a désigné pour le représenter à la dernière minute. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, quand nous parlons de l'intégration africaine et d'investissement dans notre avenir commun, pour nous, la boussole africaine, pour nous, la boussole, je pense que le commissaire chargé des questions économiques au niveau de l'Union africaine l'a dit, la boussole, c'est la vision 2063 de l'Union africaine. Cette vision va être mise en œuvre pour les 50 années à venir, parallèlement à notre engagement par rapport aux ZDD pour 2030, l'horizon 2030, étant entendu que le développement africain a des spécificités qui ne sont pas forcément prises en compte dans l'agenda ODD à l'horizon 2030. Alors, ceci dit, je pense que la déclinaison de cette vision de l'Union africaine 2063 doit se tenir compte de la subsidiarité. C'est le sens de la création de la CEDEAO. C'est aussi le sens de la création de l'UEMOA, qui est un espace dont fait le Mali, dont fait partie le Mali, qui est un espace qui regroupe 8 pays. Donc, nous avons récemment, à Abidjan, adopté le schéma de développement économique de cette zone, l'UEMOA. La complémentarité doit se jouer au niveau subsidiaire. Nous avons, dans le cadre de ce schéma aussi, mis en place des projets de développement transfrontaliers, donc des schémas d'aménagement transfrontalier intégrés entre États. Il en existe entre le Mali, la Côte d'Ivoire et le Burkina Faso. Je pense que c'est cette subsidiarité qui permettra effectivement une intégration réelle de l'Afrique, qui est d'ailleurs une des thématiques de ce forum-là. Sans laquelle intégration, n'est-ce pas, les efforts de développement seront tout simplement vains. Alors, ceci dit, revenant à mon pays s'inscrit dans cet environnement dont je viens de parler tantôt, à savoir l'Union africaine avec l'agenda 2063, à savoir la CEDEAO avec sa vision et l'Union monétaire économique africaine. Alors, je dois dire que le Mali est un pays éprouvé aujourd'hui par l'insécurité. C'est dans ce contexte que le développement doit se faire. Une insécurité, n'est-ce pas, imposée au Mali par le terrorisme. Un terrorisme aujourd'hui qui est en train de dévaster le Sahel. Et le président de la République, son Excellence Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, alors le Sahel aujourd'hui, une digue. Si cette digue rompt, alors je pense que le mal va aller au-delà de la Méditerranée. Et le mal va aller au-delà de l'océan aussi, de l'océan Atlantique. Donc voilà le contexte dans lequel alors nous devons investir dans notre avenir commun au Mali. À cet égard, en dépit de ces difficultés sécuritaires auxquelles nous faisons face, auxquelles tout le monde aujourd'hui fait face, donc le Mali connaît une croissance économique appréciable. Nous avons une vision pour les 5 années à venir. Cette vision est inscrite dans le cadre stratégique de la relance économique et du développement durable, qui prévoit un taux de croissance du PIB de 4,9%, à peu près 5%. Ça, c'est le scénario tendanciel. Et le scénario optimiste nous amène à un taux de croissance de 6,5% pour les 5 années à venir. Donc, c'est vous dire qu'en dépit, n'est-ce pas, des difficultés, alors le Mali connaît un développement et le Mali dispose de beaucoup de ressources. Malgré les difficultés sécuritaires auxquelles mon pays fait face, nous sommes la troisième économie, n'est-ce pas, de l'Union économique monétaire ouest-africaine. Nous sommes la troisième économie, en dépit des difficultés. Et le paradigme est simple. Le paradigme est que nous avons mis un accent particulier sur l'agriculture. Le président de la République, son Excellence Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, a décidé de dédier 15% de nos ressources budgétaires à l'agriculture. Et donc, d'enclencher le processus de mécanisation de l'agriculture pour faire en sorte que la chaîne de valeur soit effectivement africaine, pour que nous soyons amenés à importer moins, n'est-ce pas, de produits bruts. Vous devez savoir, le Mali est un pays qui produit beaucoup de coton. Annuellement, le Mali produit pas moins de 600 000 tonnes de coton par an. Mais force est de reconnaître que c'est une infime partie de cette production qui est transformée sur place. La tendance, si nous voulons investir dans l'avenir, c'est de faire en sorte que cette production soit transformée, en tout cas au Mali, que cette production soit transformée en Afrique. Je dois aussi dire que le Mali est un pays minier par excellence. Le Mali est le 3e pays producteur d'or en Afrique. Et la part de la production d'or aurifère, n'est-ce pas, au produit intérieur brut est extrêmement important. Donc, à ce niveau aussi, je dois dire que seulement 20% des ressources de cette production sont reversées à l'État malien. Parce que la production est fortement tributaire, n'est-ce pas, de l'assistance extérieure, de l'aide extérieure. Donc, voilà un peu les opportunités économiques qui s'offrent à notre pays et dans lesquelles nous pouvons investir pour le Mali, pour la sous-région ouest-africaine, pour l'Afrique, mais aussi pour le monde. Parce que indéniablement, le centre de gravité de la croissance mondiale est l'Afrique. Je dis bien, le centre de gravité de la croissance mondiale est l'Afrique. Le forum récent en Russie, entre l'Afrique et la Russie, l'a démontré à suffisance. Et c'est dans ce contexte que le forum-là se tient. Donc, investir en Afrique, c'est investir pour le monde de demain. La spécificité africaine, je dois la signaler, c'est que l'Afrique connaît une croissance démographique très importante. Quand je prends mon pays, alors le taux de croissance démographique est de 3,6%. L'indice synthétique de fécondité est de 6,1 enfants par femme. Donc, c'est une croissance énorme. Aujourd'hui, nous devons donc faire en sorte que cette croissance démographique soit traduite en opportunités. En quoi faisant? En accélérant la transition démographique afin de capturer des dividendes démographiques. Et c'est ce à quoi nous nous attelons aujourd'hui. Et accélérer la croissance démographique veut dire quoi? Veut dire faire en sorte que la majorité démographique soit impliquée dans la production nationale. Il s'agit des femmes. Donc il faut travailler à une forte autonomisation des femmes. Et autonomiser des femmes, il n'y a que 4 piliers. D'abord l'éducation, la santé, l'emploi, mais aussi la gouvernance. Donc, à ce niveau, nous avons encore, dans le cadre, n'est-ce pas, de l'intégration africaine, mis en place un projet autonomisation des femmes pour le dividende démographique au Sahel, qui aujourd'hui comprend 6 pays du Sahel, qui viennent d'être rejoints par, n'est-ce pas, le Bénin. Ce projet a pour objectif d'accélérer la transition démographique pour capturer le dividende démographique dans les pays du Sahel. Donc, je suis d'accord avec, n'est-ce pas, l'intervenant, l'ambassadeur de Corée, qui a dit à juste titre qu'il est bon d'investir, mais il ne s'agit pas surtout d'investissement physique, mais il s'agit aussi d'investir dans le capital humain. On a beau investir, et quelqu'un d'autre l'a dit, il ne s'agit pas d'investir dans des panneaux solaires, tout simplement, dans les infrastructures. C'est nécessaire. Mais il faut que le capital humain suive. Donc, il faut, pour cette transformation structurelle de l'économie africaine, que nous mettions un accent particulier sur le capital humain. À travers quoi? À travers l'éducation, la santé et la promotion de l'emploi. La caractéristique de l'Afrique, contrairement à l'Europe, est qu'elle a une population jeune. 60% de la population africaine ont moins de 25 ans. 60% ont moins de 25 ans. Quand je prends un pays comme la France, c'est 25% de la population qui a moins de 25 ans. Donc si en Europe, la population est vieillissante, en Afrique, la population est majoritairement jeune. Il s'agit là d'un paramètre dont il faut tenir compte en éduquant et en créant beaucoup de conditions d'emploi. Parce qu'une jeunesse non formée, une jeunesse non éduquée, une jeunesse qui n'a pas d'emploi, c'est une bombe à retardement. Donc, voilà un peu ce que je voulais dire en introduction pour respecter le temps qui est imparti. Alors, pour dire encore une fois de plus, pour me résumer, que investir, n'est-ce pas, dans l'avenir passe par justement l'investissement dans les infrastructures, mais aussi dans le capital humain. Et aussi faire en sorte que nos visions, notamment les ODD, la vision 2063 de l'Union africaine, soient déclinées, n'est-ce pas, au niveau subsidiaire, dans le cadre d'une intégration. Au-delà de l'intégration politique, de l'intégration des États, qu'on aille véritablement à l'intégration des peuples. Je vous remercie.
Merci à vous. Un message qui est très clair, investir dans le capital humain, pas simplement dans l'infrastructure, et ne jamais oublier le rôle transformateur des femmes dans la construction de cet avenir, plus un besoin de cette subsidiarité, de coordination, de travail ensemble dans la région. Je ne peux pas être plus d'accord avec vous. Mr. Kayasheng, it's now your turn. He's the chairman of the Finance Center for South-South Cooperation, and it's an institution that has been leading initiatives towards the creation of local companies through capacity building, and this has been bringing some quite impressive results. The Green Industrial Park of Djibouti is one of the examples, and programs in agricultural investment also in South Africa are good examples of this work that has been supported by the Finance Center for South-South Cooperation. So maybe it would be great to hear from your experience in bridging partnership between Chinese companies and African companies. What have been the challenges, the bottlenecks you have been experiencing, but also examples of success, how this has been leading to clear impact in some of those countries.
谢谢主持人，非常高兴呢。来参加19届非洲论坛，受经合组织的邀请。第一轮论坛呢，第一轮的发言呢，受到很多启发。我也想呢，谈3个问题。第一个呢，就是非洲问题我们放在一个什么角度上去谈，对吧？实际上呢，现在全球呢都在全球化的这个，喂。没有法语，你那上法语的听不见，只有英语。OK， 所以说要站在全球化的角度上来，因为现在整个世界呢，在全球化浪潮下呢，现在在一个新的历史时期遇到了新的问题，对吧？所以我们现在谈事情呢，话题都是一个，但是角度和视角呢，发生了很大的变化，是吧？所以对于非洲的问题呢，同样应该在全球化这种趋势下来谈，啊，因为我们现在你比如气候问题，气候问题是大家关心的问题，那是发达国家的气候问题，发展中国家的气候问题，非洲它是不一样。而且这里气候问题很重要的一个就是涉及到发展模式的问题，是吧？非洲现在处在这么样一个发展阶段，在气候这种环境下，它的模式到底怎么走，是吧？我们应该怎么去考虑它的问题，是吧？这是跟这个发达国家发展过程当中和中国发展过程当中都是不一样的，啊。所以说我们要在这个比如贫困问题，对吧？贫困人口问题，在解决非洲的贫困问题上应该怎么解决？中国这个在解决贫困问题上，为全球做出了很大的贡献，但他又是在他的体制下是怎么做的？所以说呢，在现在这个全球化过程中，既然是整个地球村。那么非洲呢，就不应该是放在一个就非洲论非洲的问题上，一定要站在一个全球化的问题上。我们怎么把全球市场做大，对吧？在这个全球合作的问题上，我们把它做得越来越好，减少一种全球合作的一种阻力，对吧？只有这样呢，我们才能把2030目标和这个2063非洲目标才能有机的结合起来，这是一个。另外一个，站在全球化的角度上呢，来谈这些问题呢，我们就应该有个相互尊重和平等的角度来谈论问题，是吧？所以说呢，我想说的第一个观点呢，就是说我们现在讨论问题已经不是某一个区域的问题，某一个国家的问题，而是站在一个全球化和全球人类命运共同体的角度 来看不同国家的发展问题，这样呢，可能才能对未来形成一个产业链或者这个未来一个协作的发展可能更有利。这是第一个观点。第二个观点呢，就是可持续问题，或者说呢，就是这种可持续的发展，怎么样能够根据地区差别、国家差别而有针对性的去解决问题，是吧？根据中国改革发展的这个经验来看，是吧？任何一个国家的这个发展，它必须要站在本土的实际情况上来确定它的发展模式，是吧？不能简单的去照搬，是吧？别人给设计一个模式，你就按照这个模式去做，那是不可以，是吧？所以说呢，在刚才的讨论当中呢，一些非洲国家，都谈到了非洲的差异，非洲的国家与国家的差异。怎么针对这个差异找到你发展的重点，或者叫说你发展的这个突破口，按照中国话来说就是你发展的突破口，怎么解决这个问题？这是很实际的问题，是吧？因为我们现在呢，在讨论问题当中，都是问题是一个，但是呢是站在不同的角度，很难把它这个对起来。这就是有时候，对吧？你不管是欧美国家，或者中国跟其他国家，或者欧盟、欧美跟非洲国家谈判当中，在谈的这个观点交换当中，他有时候不能站在一个共同的一个视角上来去认识。所以第二个观点呢，就是说我们一定要实事求是的根据本国的特点出发，结合各国的发展经验，或者欧盟也好、美国也好、中国也好的发展经验，来去有的放矢。第三个就谈我们，因为我呢原来是在央行工作，又在中国的监管部门工作，是吧？工作了40多年，我现在是退休，是吧？来做南南合作。南南合作呢是一个 NGO 组织，是吧？那目前呢也是联合国经社理事会认可的这个有联合国经社理事会认可的自商地位，是吧？我是作为这个退休下来以后，怎么来推进南南的这个发展？我们这个非政府组织终于做了哪些事儿？一个呢，就是说，在这个结合联合国发展目标，怎么在提高南南国家，包括非洲国家这些，他国家治理能力上的提高，或者社会发展上提高，我们去做些事儿，对吧？而不是简单的从一个资金的对接角度来去看。这个呢，比如在吉布提的这个发展过程，就是工业园的建设。工业园的建设呢，它不是一个简单的帮他设计公务员，而是说呢，首先呢，把这个全球的有关专家召集起来，来和吉布提讨论你这个政策层面上第一步。第二步呢，确定工业园本身的重点怎么建设。第三个呢，就是说根据中国企业在吉布提港口建设的情况呢，把工业园的基础设施发展起来。第四步呢，根据我们的资源来把中国的一些企业引到那儿去，是这么样的。但是根据这个第二个呢，就所谓软实力啊，或者是这个人力资本的培养，我们呢根据我们的资源优势，办了一些这个南南国家，包括非洲国家的金融高级培训班，利用在中国的这个清华五道口金融学院的资源，让他们来看，是吧？不同国家的一些发展经验。第三个呢，就是关于一些慈善工作、教育方面 对吧？儿童教育那个电脑专注。另外那个最近呢，我们根据“一带一路”的这个倡议呢，我们在跟河南中国的河南省，还有联合国南南办公室，来组成了一个航空联盟，就准备搞一个这个空中丝绸之路，而且这个对接呢，主要还就是选的卢旺达，对吧？这样呢，要通过一种物流，海上物流、空中物流，通过物流的方式来把这个贸易搞活，是吧？只有这样呢，才能使这些东西呢通起来。所以现在在“一带一路”倡议当中，中国领导人、最高领导人习主席讲的五通，我觉得这些五通呢，从政策到这个基础设施，到贸易，到资金，最后一个到人心。如果这个我们相通了，那我们社会的发展，大家会不让每一个人掉队，共同的来前进。谢谢。
Thank you very much. We hear common voices saying that investment in infrastructure is crucial, but don't forget investment in human capital. I also heard this morning that you've been visiting Madrid and Spain quite many often from your past life. I hope you are going to enjoy also this time. But it's a great transition to the experience of Rwanda, and Mr. Stefani Niyonkuru will bring us some of the key elements that the country has been putting on the table and the success in carrying out some economic and fiscal reforms in recent decades. And this has been helping the country to be now turning as scoring quite high in some of the investment and business rankings. So maybe it would be great to hear from your experience, and you can maybe help us understand what are those priorities, what Rwanda has been doing to support this kind of reforms, and what especially the Rwanda Development Board is doing to strengthen this participation in the regional value chains also.
Thank you very much, and I take this opportunity to thank OECD and the Republic of Spain for having organized such successful discussions. As the moderator mentioned, I'm from Rwanda, and I would like to share some of the interventions that have been going on, which have at least helped us to move from where we were 25 or 26 years ago to where we are as we speak now. The reason why I talked about 25 years ago is because that's when there was a matter of a turnaround in our country. We had massive tragedy, and we have a genocide against the Tutsi, which killed more than 1 million people. And the country was more of destroyed completely. Our parents had to start from scratch to build a country which is now one of the ones that are doing well, despite the fact that the journey continues. So in terms of what we did, number one, we had to make sure that we have a country that works. And by saying a country that works, that really turned into starting with the unity of people, because you're talking about a country that had just come from a genocide. So we had several tensions, among people. And we had people who had gone outside the country, people who were coming in, who have been refugees for so many years. So the first really task was to make sure that we build unity and reconciliation. And then number two, making sure that we have a government that works, really real governance. And by governance, what I mean is having institutions that don't tolerate things like corruption, making sure that we have institutions that help the people to feel secure. As we speak, when you go into the rankings in terms of one of the places where you would feel safest in the world, Rwanda is among top 5. If you're in the country, if you wake up, at 2 a.m., you can go on the streets, you do the jogging, you can walk around without any problem. The city and secondary cities are clean. So that's really one of the things that also was given a special attention to make sure that people not only are united, but also feel safe. Speaking of people, the other aspect was also to make sure that we have gender equality. When I came in, we just had a 2-day Global Gender Summit, which was convened in Rwanda. There are several discussions that have been going on, and one of the questions that was asked to my president was, how do you do it? What makes Rwanda one of the countries where in the world you have the highest number of women in the parliaments, because more than 62% of our women in the parliament, more of 62% of our MPs are women. And if you talk of the cabinet, you're talking about 52% being women. So it comes back really to making sure that, it's not even asking people to believe about it, it's the reality. What a man can do, a woman can do it. So when it comes now to saying we have to put in place laws or regulations that promote equality, you really have women acting on those ones. So that's really one of the other things also that helped us to make sure that we move from being a country that was, being built from scratch to a country that has been rolling out quite interesting interventions. Number 2, now, in addition to making sure that the country works, we also had to make sure that we have macroeconomic stability. We moved from having one of the highest debt ratio in the world to now having the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the region. We borrow a lot of money. If you look into our national budgets, you have domestic resources being around 60%, and then you have debts that we borrow from either development partners and then some grants coming in. But we've been really working hard to make sure that we build an economy where the cost of capital doesn't become very expensive, which would really help the private sector to invest. If you look at from 2000 up to 2005, we've been recording, more of a double-digit growth rate. If you took the average, you'd have, anything ranging from 8 to 10 as a cumulative average growth rate. During the financial crisis, it went down to 6%. Later on, it picked up. Now we are talking about 80%. So we've really been making sure that we stabilize the economy so that would entice members of the private sector to come and invest in Rwanda. The third thing that we did was mainly making sure that we become citizens of the world. We believe that we cannot build a value chain and talk of integration if people can have difficulties coming into our country. So what we did, as we speak, if you come to Rwanda, you get a visa on arrival. You don't need to go through other processes, you get a visa on arrival. So for us, we thought if people can come in to do business without all of the issues of visas and having to get their tickets delayed or the airlines delayed, we thought that was really one of the ways that would help us to integrate. We are now members of the East Africa community. We are also in COMESA. We are with the African Union, now member of OECD. So we've been really doing all of those integrations and making sure that we work with several people from different parts of the world. Coming back to the role of the Rwanda Development Board now, again, looking at how we wanted to give better lives to our people, we believed that things like bureaucracy, things like duplication of responsibilities, they wouldn't really take us where we wanted to be. So one of the decisions that we had taken 10 years ago was to create a Rwanda Development Board. And this was created by bringing together almost 8 government institutions that were doing anything to do with the private sector development. So it was really a combination of the tourism agency, an agency that was doing ICT, an agency that was doing investment promotion, an agency that was doing promotion of SMEs. All of these were brought together to form Rwanda Development Board. And the objective was, number one, to make sure that we don't duplicate resources and responsibilities. And then number two, to create a one-stop shop for investors. To make sure that if you come to invest in Rwanda, you don't have to move from 10 places to get signature or approval of a government official. So we have one-stop shop where we provide all of the services related to investments. The moderator talked about rankings. When it comes to ease of doing business, we are now the second in Africa. If you come to open a business in Rwanda, you can get your certificate of incorporation in 6 hours. And you don't necessarily have to come to the LDB. You can sit here, go online, and do it. So we've been really able to do that by making sure that we make reforms that remove bureaucracy, and also that will help investors to quickly move ahead and do the implementation. I just wanted to share those few remarks in terms of what we did in building the country, making sure that we have inclusive development, and also making sure that we create a conducive environment which would help investment to contribute to the development of Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rwanda, a country of citizens of the world, building on gender equality and women's voice is not bad as a recipe of today. Íñigo de Palacio, who's the Global Director for Institutional Relations and Vice President of INRAM, as I was saying, is a Spanish leading company with broad presence in Africa. I think what if we've been talking about how to attract investment, but it's not only about investment, value creation. From your business experience, can you help us reflect on the lessons learned on the corporate and business sector? What are the main challenges a company like yours has been experiencing? And what are the main policy priorities also you see from your position you are holding to foster this sustainable development and to promote this integration in Africa?
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you, Susanna. I'm truly honored to share this panel with a really multinational group, not only with African friends, but also with representatives of countries that do so much to improve development in Africa. I'm going to be speaking from the perspective of more than 20 years of experience in African countries in many different sectors: transportation, air traffic management, energy, water, and security, and the like. And the first thing that I want to draw your attention to is the fact that still there are very dissimilar situations in African countries. And perhaps the first priority, the first challenge that collectively we need to achieve is to bring countries up to a level where integration can succeed. And in this particular effort, we believe that technology can be and will certainly be the best enabler that African countries can have to help them leapfrog tremendously in development for the coming years. The challenges are enormous in terms of integration, in terms of sustainability of cities, in terms of security, infrastructure, and the like. And also, we insist a lot on not decoupling the concept of development from security. Security and development must go hand in hand, because there will be no development without security. And I thank you, Your Excellency, for drawing the attention to this particular fact. Now, I'm going to share with you a very short number of speaking points that we believe are essential to understand at least our business perspective in the country. First, from the policy point of view. And the first thing I have to say is that it is in the cities framework that African countries will face the sustainability challenge that they need to address. We need to be able to integrate more and more verticals of city services into IoT platforms, better to prepare these cities to face the challenges of growth that they're going to be having in the coming years. Not only in terms of traffic management. We are now, for instance, developing a project in the city of Algiers in Algeria to deploy intelligent traffic systems. That's fine. But there are going to be many other services that need to be integrated. And of course, we need to bear in mind that as cities grow more exponentially, the challenges grow exponentially too. And you run the risk without the adequate technology to run into congestive problems. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And of course, we need to ensure that IFIs work together with us to promote better planning and work together with city administrations. We're now developing a smart city project that is going to be a pioneering effort in the city of Casablanca, a large city in northern Africa, with Casablanca Prestation. And we are going to be able to deliver, I'm sure, a very good project. Second policy priority. Of course, integration is extremely important and trade matters. It is true. And it's very important that countries work together to improve trading conditions. But also we need to bear in mind the infrastructure challenge that all this new environment is going to pose to countries. And we need to address the cost-benefit ratio that exists in building infrastructure in Africa. I've been told, for instance, the exorbitant cost of railways in certain African countries that are exhausting an inordinate amount of money and resources from national budgets to implement. We do believe that connectivity is going to be mostly ensured by air connections in the continent. And of course, international IFIs and governments need to ensure that there is better integration among them across borders. Third, regulatory frameworks, including management capacity in administration and planning capacity. You can rest assured we speak from experience. It is very important for businesses to be able to sell, but it is as important as selling, it is collecting. We dedicate sometimes, unfortunately, an inordinate amount of time to collect the value of our contracts. We have been addressing issues with international IFIs because they see their need for planning, better planning. We know now that the African Development Bank is going to be enlarged and they need to grow in capacities for addressing the planning challenges. We're able to contribute to that, and we do it in Africa through one of our companies, a consulting company, ALG, and an engineering company, Prointech. But also, we need to encourage African countries to address the challenge of allowing themselves to adopt new technologies. I'll give you just one example. In Rwanda, and you're at the top in the digital line of countries that have invested phenomenally over the last years, you allow the use of drones. Drones can bring new business models to societies, and they can be extremely important in certain development sectors. Now you allow the use of drones even for distributing medicaments in society. Can you imagine the impact that this has? Well, in the rest of African countries, or at least most of them, as far as I can tell, the use of drones is not permitted. So this is just by one example that regulatory frameworks need to be adjusted. Then training, everyone has spoken about this. The Minister of Ethiopia, Your Excellency, thank you for reminding this, and also Your Excellency, the Minister of Mali. I'll give you another example. We as a foreign business company see on a daily basis that around 15% of the local force resources, human resources, are being used by foreign business when they embark on businesses on African countries, right? 85% of human resources normally need to be brought from outside because they don't find an adequate amount of locally trained and educated people. It is a must. It is crucial. And we need to undertake this challenge together. Now, the adequate financing for development, this is also crucial. IFIs are making an enormous effort to pour more resources into development processes in the continent. And together with private and other public institutions, I'm even thinking about national corporations from European, the US, Millennium is very active in a number of sectors, and others are. But I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that there's going to be a very relevant discussion within the EU. There is a very sizable provider of foreign resources to the African continent as to what is the best format for development banks in the EU, whether the European Bank of Investment, European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, the European Cooperation Funds, how better to integrate all these efforts together and be more efficient on the ground when delivering grants and aid, not only through public efforts with national corporations, but also through private businesses. And we want to see a framework where private business is not drawn out from the investment process when it comes to using these public financial means coming from the European Union. We want to see more transparency, one-stop shops, not only in Brussels, but also in our national countries. And we are also prepared to work in favor of that. Blending is going to be extremely important in the future. And why not? We need to tap all the resources, for instance, from the Green Climate Fund, because the challenges in mitigating and adapting to the challenges that are posed by climate change are going to be enormous. I don't have much time to get into the nitty-gritty of everything that we can deploy in terms of smart cities and all the technology of advanced analytics that can be brought to bear in this particular field, infrastructure and the like. But bear in mind that the challenges of urban mobility are going to be phenomenal, and in this, only with technology, we will be able to cope with them. One very important thing: cities matter, but rural areas matter even most. We are not foolish, but we say here, we can address a number of challenges in rural areas by bringing new technologies so as to enable national and local administrations to decentralize the provision of public services. Very important. It must not be on a permanent basis. It can be mobile. There are many solutions that can be addressed by the newest technologies. And we are prepared to embark on a discussion on this so as to how better promote this new smart rural areas solutions. Energy. Perhaps is the most successful delivery of Indra in the continent, apart from air traffic management and ports and airports. Very important also, we need to address the challenges of energy. Ports and airports. I want to remind you of a very important initiative by ASECNA, the Western Africa Civil Aviation Organization, that for more than 60 years now, if I'm not mistaken, has drawn together the efforts of 17 countries to better ensure there is good traffic management, and we are the providers of technology for these 17 countries. This is a very telling example of how other groups of countries in the continent can pull together resources and efforts and work for a better future in a critical infrastructure. I'm getting to the end. Critical infrastructure, protection, and cybersecurity. This is going to be also essential for African countries. And I have to say that we shouldn't forget that we need to ensure that citizens can have access to the citizens' right by being part of a national census. We need to be able to identify citizens in various countries, not only for security purposes, but also to better ensure that they can be moving around the continent, because this is what is happening. All these migration movements are happening mostly amongst African countries, rather than from Africa to Europe or other continents. It is an open legend to say that we're going to be overwhelmed by migrations coming from Africa. You are going to do your job, and you're doing it very well, but you need to ensure that we know who the citizens are and allow them to freely move across boundaries, to set up new businesses and interact with their African friends. And public administration's digital transformation, and perhaps the end of my comment. I have a long list of them, but we don't have time. Just one final thing, and I wanted to profit from this occasion and having a colleague from China to say that we all speak about business coming from China in Africa. They are extremely important. But I wanted to stress that we as Indra are fully confident that we can work together with local partners and with our Chinese friends to ensure that we're going to get a better development. And just finally, to give you an example of this, we've built together the new terminal of the Algiers airport. 2 Chinese civil construction companies did the civil job, and we incorporated the constructive design, the project management, some operational systems for the airport, and it has been a success. You know what happened? The government promoted this particular joint venture between the Spanish multinational group and these Chinese companies. Public policy matters, and I encourage governments in Africa to promote more of these partnerships with our companies, together with other partners, whether from Japan or China or Korea or local partners from African countries. We'll have time perhaps to dwell more upon all those issues later. I thank you.
So the future of Africa needs to be built based on partnerships, on cooperation, strengthening this cooperation. It's possible. Just to finalize, we have Mr. Tomoharu Otake, the chief representative from JICA, and Japan has been really one of the long-standing partners of Africa, and the role of JICA has been crucial in this success also. And the synergies between the Tokyo International Conference on Africa Development and the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa are clear. Japan has committed recently to achieve over $20 billion in private investment in China over the next 3 years. Well, with that in mind, which is not nothing, what are the main economic and social priorities also for JICA? What can be championed from a cooperation from Japan to improve this regional connectivity?
Thank you, Susanna. Do you know TICAD, Tokyo International Conference for African Development? It was held for the first time in 1993, and this year in August in Yokohama near Tokyo, Japanese government in collaboration with AUC, World Bank, UNDP, and other UN family, and held the 7th TICAD. And during the TICAD 7, Japanese government made many commitments. But today, I'd like to share one very unique approach of Japanese government and JICA. In order to improve regional connectivity and promote integration their economy and society into the world, we, not only JICA, but also other actors all over the world should support the African countries to find the solutions for many challenges. First, policy coherence in African continent. Second, common legal and regulatory frameworks. Third, connectivity with physical infrastructure. Fourth, human resource development, we can say human capital, etc. And today, we would like to share with you one of the experiences in order to promote regional integration in African continent. When CHICAT 5, not 7 this year, CHICAT 5 held in 2013, the Japanese government made a commitment to support the establishment of 3 strategic corridor master plans in Africa. And since that time, JICA had been materializing this strategic master plans in collaboration with African partner countries. And when it was committed, the Japanese government selected 3 areas. First is North Corridor, from Mombasa Port in Kenya to Uganda and Rwanda. Second is Nakara Corridor from Nakara Port in Mozambique to Zambia. And third is West Africa Growth Link Development Master Plan, which connect Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo, and Ghana, and a little bit Nigeria. And when we talk about regional infrastructure development, it doesn't mean necessarily the implementation or the construction of big projects. But in the case of master plans we have been implemented, those master plans includes a lot of projects of lot of sectors. In the case of West Africa Growth Link Development Master Plan, we found 350 projects to be implemented in those 4 countries with priorities, etc. And we think that in the case of regional infrastructure development, the most important point is that those projects to be found in the development plan should be well planned and well implemented based on the priority and physical space of the countries involved in the master plan. Those 3 master plans were elaborated based upon PIDA in collaboration with NEPAT and REX. And our partner countries have already held the workshop in order to share the results of these master plans. And they are now looking for the financer or collaborator for those projects. And this master plan is made public on our website, so everybody can access to this report. And we would like to cooperate with you all, not only with MDBs, DFIs, donors, but also private sectors, and philosophies, etc. So I think that I can sum up the characteristic of our unique approach through this development of master plans as follows. First, it's regional collaboration of partner countries involved in the master plan. Second, it's collaboration with NEPAT and REX of African countries. Third, the master plans includes package of many projects. Fourth, all projects are given priority. And the last is those projects should be implemented based upon the debt sustainability of partner countries involved in the master plans. So what I want to say is, without the due attention to the debt sustainability of each country, they will not be achieve the development. And also, in order for the government of developing countries to decide what projects should be implemented first, and next is what kind of projects should be implemented next. Such kind of overall program is very important. So it depends upon the economic situation in the world that the government will choose first priority only, or until second priority project, or until 5 priority projects. And those projects are very, very well coordinated with your neighbor countries. So private investment in Africa would be promoted by such effective infrastructure development in parallel with business environment improvement. And such private investment, especially in labor-intensive industry, will contribute a lot for job creation in Africa. This is a typical Asian development model. So we believe that this kind of development model will be applicable for African countries too. And in CHICAT 7, as I mentioned, in this year, held in this year, Japanese government made very strong commitment to continue our assistance to African countries. So shall we cooperate together for the development of African countries? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this idea also about the connectivity and countries cooperating is coming very strong throughout all the panel. We are running a little bit out of time, but we still have time for some questions from the floor. At least 2-3 questions. If you can raise your hand, say your name, be focused, and if a specific and targeted question to one of the panelists, just say that also. ¿Quién tiene un micro? No questions? Wow. I have. Okay, so maybe I'll give you 1 real minute each to finalize, to a last row of final comments, to summarize. And what I would appreciate is that you can come with 1 recommendation, not just from your experience, but thinking that this is about building this common future. That means different actors, different countries, different institutions coming together. What should be this first and overall question that you would like to put on the table as final conclusion for the day?
One minute, okay. I'll try. Je voudrais toujours insister sur un aspect. Vous savez, en matière de développement, il y a des menaces. Et une des menaces aujourd'hui, c'est la menace terroriste. Et cette menace aujourd'hui hante tout le monde. Et aujourd'hui, mon pays déploie un peu plus de 22% de ses ressources budgétaires pour l'effort de guerre. À cause de cette insécurité, il y a des écoles qui sont fermées au niveau de certaines localités. Et la lutte contre le terrorisme ne peut pas être le tout militaire ou le tout sécuritaire. La lutte contre le terrorisme, c'est aussi le développement. C'est le développement pour justement faire face aux inégalités territoriales. Donc à cet égard, si nous sommes engagés à investir pour notre avenir commun, là, je pense que là, nous devons mettre un accent sur ces aspects. J'ai dit tantôt, la population africaine est majoritairement jeune. Si cette population n'a pas d'emploi, si elle n'est pas éduquée, elle est une proie facile qui peut être enrôlée par les terroristes. Donc, investir dans notre avenir commun, c'est aussi lutter ensemble contre le terrorisme, lutter militairement, mais aussi lutter économiquement. Merci.
我想说的就是怎么利用科技的发展来改变我们的一些思维方式问题，对吧？因为你现在要是按照这个过去一种传统的发展路径，可能要经过很长的时间。但是你如果变换一种思维方式，对吧？利用科技的发展来解决这个问题。所以我觉得非洲呢，在数字经济这些方面呢，可能能对它的发展速度和提升它的一些发展水平上会有帮助。因为我就举中国的例子，中国的金融发展这几年有很大的进步，但是呢，它在普惠啊、中小企业发展上还是有些问题。那它通过这个第三方支付、手机的运用这些科技手段以后呢，它的普惠金融呢就会有这个很大的覆盖。所以我觉得这个非洲的发展呢，实际上因为现在科技手段的应用呢，已经在非常深刻地改变着我们人们的生活。所以说，我觉得呢，非洲呢在这方面呢，可以通过科技的发展呢，来弥补一些所谓人力资本啊，这方面的一些互补，这样可能对于提高效率和发展速度会有很大的好处。这就是看法。
Thank you. I will come back on the human capital because it's one of the elements that was spoken quite much about. I think if we have to integrate, we have to believe in our people. We've talked about the majority of the population being youth. And I think it's true we can be cognizant of some of the resources or human capital expertise that might not be there. But we have to invest in making sure that those talents or those expertise are there. So one way of doing that is believing in our people, making sure that our people are exposed, making sure that even if we bring in some technical expertise, we link them with our people to make sure there is effective skills transfer. That's one. Number two, another way of doing it is also making sure that African countries work with development partners to make sure that we have good schools or centers of excellences in Africa. One of the things that we did with the support of MasterCard Foundation and other development partners is that back in 2011, we discussed with the Carnegie Mellon University and they brought their campus to Africa and it's now in Rwanda. So at least we're having engineers, electrical engineers, guys with masters and other high-level education and technology coming from different countries in Africa, coming to study those in Rwanda. And after they are the ones who are really rolling out all of these technology solutions that we are talking about. So it really has to be a common vision that we have to share and then work together to make sure that we have the human skills that we always talk about. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I want to stress again that public policies and public planning matter, even for companies. It is very important that we manage this together. Governments, IFIs, and the business sector needs to be listened to. Development and security need to go hand in hand. The smart cities and smart rural areas need to be able to ensure social inclusion and place a citizen and societies in Africa at the very center of the sustainable development goals and challenges. And financing, very important, but we need to tap all the resources, we need to avoid duplications, and we need to be able to ensure that also the business sector is listened to, including in the phase of planning for future projects. Thank you.
I insist on the importance of the role and the functions of AUC And as I explained to you, Japanese government collaborate TICAS 7 with other partners such as World Bank, AU, AUC, etc., UNDP too. And also African countries have the platform with China as FOCAC and with Russia the other day in Sochi and India too. And also you will have a meeting with EU next year and also France next year. So the African countries have a lot of platforms for coordination, but always the center of the collaboration should be AUC. So, in order to coordinate the development direction of African countries, I appreciate very much the endeavor, a strong endeavor of AUC. We will support the activities AUC together with other actors all over the world.
Thank you very much, my distinguished panelists. They've made my life as a moderator quite easy because it's easy to summarize. It's been on every single intervention today very clear that the human capital has to be at the center of everything that has to be done in the future to build this future in common, in cooperation, in collaboration for Africa. And also, I think this message that we need to put at the center of everything, fighting inequalities, to coordinate, as a driver of the joint action we are going to do is also very, very strong. And on that, I just want to remind the words I was saying at the beginning. If we really want to address inequality, we need to restore trust. And for that, the voice of the civil society, of the social movements, of youth movements is crucial. Oxfam is an international NGO that has moved the headquarters to Africa, to Nairobi. It's not just a coincidence. It's about giving power, moving power. We keep changing this balance of power also, but it's about putting from the voice of others who are at the center of this action what really matters, what has to be changed, and what has to be the future of the continent. So thank you very much to all of them. I think they deserve some recognition for this great work.